27 points for Kawhi Leonard. Darius Garland had his best game as a Clipper with 24 points and 6 assists. The Clippers are back over 500 at 37-36. Baseball is back. The Dodgers open the season tonight at home against Arizona. The Dodgers are trying to become the first team to win 3 straight World Series since the Yankees did it in 2000. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte. Less than 24 hours before a planned California governor's debate, USC and KABC Television Channel 7 pulled the plug after a week of growing outrage that not a single candidate of color had been invited to participate. USC says it was just math, polling numbers, fundraising totals, nothing personal. But here's the problem with that argument. Every one of the 6 candidates who made the cut was white, and every one of the candidates left out was not. At some point, the outcome is the message, regardless of the formula that produced it. The 4 excluded candidates, former U.S. Health Secretary Javier Becerra, former L.A. Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa, former State Controller Betty Yee, and State Superintendent Tony Thurmond, are not fringe figures. These are people who've won major statewide elections and served millions of Californians. Here's the deeper lesson. California is one of the most diverse states in the nation. Latino voters, Black voters, and Asian American voters don't just live here. We decide elections here. When the people organizing a debate about California's future build a stage that looks nothing like California, they're not just making a scheduling error, they're sending a signal about whose voice matters. Even some of the invited candidates called on USC to expand the field, ostensibly because they understood what was at stake. That said, it is worth noting that none of the invited candidates had the courage to stand in solidarity with people of color and bow out of participating in the debate. But we'll leave that alone for now. Canceling the debate was not a victory. It was damage control. The real lesson is that diversity cannot be an afterthought in the criteria. It has to be baked into the thinking from the very beginning. Voters of color are not a special interest. We are the electorate. With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte. As always, we welcome your feedback.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA.
You are listening to and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Dr. Quarterlife, you live in the flesh, right here on KBLA Talk 1580, where I'm in touch until you be in touch. Be sure to follow me on all the social media platforms at Dr. Nicordelai. Just type in Dr. Niq, DRNIIQ, and there I am, fresh for you to follow. Also, be sure to download the KBLA app if you haven't already. Download the app. Download the KBLA app. That way, you'll always have us right there in the palm of your hands. We know that y'all are busy people. And so we want to make sure that you all can tap in so many different ways. And so the app is the easiest way to do it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the KBLA YouTube channel. That way, you don't just get to hear the conversation, you get to see us in action, and you can even hop in the group chat to weigh in on whatever it is that we're discussing. Last but not least, be sure to tell Alexa to play KBLA Talk 1580 if you are so inclined. Now, I am honored to be sitting in for our friend and brother, Jesse Jackson Jr., who is away. He will be back on Monday, but honored to stand in for him and to do so in good company. This hour, I'm looking forward to being in conversation with Johnny J. Mack. Johnny J. Mack, he is a social entrepreneur and a scholar practitioner with expertise in the areas of peace and conflict and social change movements. He's traveled extensively throughout the Americas, Africa, Asia, Europe, and the Middle East, working in the fields of peace and development and conflict and nonviolent social change. His seminal work, After Confrontation, Then What? It challenges the punitive logic of nonviolent social change theory and practice, and he rearticulates nonviolence beyond the traditional understanding of nonviolent struggle as principally nonviolent resistance. And so I'm really looking forward to being in conversation with Dr. Mack, whose research includes extensive study of Martin Luther King Jr.'s logic of nonviolence and U.S. civil rights. Now, we know that Dr. King warned us. He warned us of militarism. And right now, we are seeing an uptick in militarism around the world. And so in our second hour, we'll be in conversation with Johnny J. Mack. But this hour, we'll be lighting it up with Ted Williams. I enjoyed our conversation so much last time, and so I'm looking forward to being in conversation with him this time. Dr. Ted Williams, he's an educator, he's an actor and author who teaches political science at the City Colleges of Chicago. He's a graduate of the University of Chicago, Rutgers University, and Northern Seminary. He has quite the resume when it comes to acting credits. You might have seen him on NBC's Chicago PD, Showtime's The Chi, various films as well. And when we come forward, we're going to be digging into some of the biggest trending headlines today. You are listening to and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm your guest host, Dr. Nicordelai Corte. More when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
This March, we're turning up the volume on the women who changed everything. KBLA Talk 1580 is proud to celebrate Women's History Month, honoring the trailblazers, truth tellers, and game changers who shaped our world, our culture, and our community. From the freedom fighters to the firsts, from the boardroom to the front lines, from the unsung to the unforgettable, all month long, we're celebrating the stories, the voices, and the conversations that remind us that women, Black women, have always led the way. Don't miss a moment. This is our moment. This is our story. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580, Los Angeles' home for the conversations that matter.
I'm your girl, you're my girl, we're your girls. Won't you know that we love you?
Roger and Tracy saved over $18,400. Cynthia was recovering from a family tragedy and saved over $10,300. If you are drowning in debt, then call Debt Blue. Debt Blue is a professional debt negotiation firm with over 20 years of experience helping people pay back a fraction of what they owe. Learn how to cut your debt up to half or maybe more. Be debt-free in 24 to 48 months, even with bad credit. With an A+ rating from the BBB, you can rest easy knowing Debt Blue is going to deliver guaranteed debt reduction. Debt Blue offers a success guarantee. You pay nothing unless your debt is reduced or completely resolved. That's right. You save money or it's free. Call now for significant debt relief and a free consultation. 800-200-8879. That's 800-200-8879. You don't have to declare bankruptcy. This program works if you owe $10,000, $20,000, or even $100,000 in debt. Call for your free consultation today. 800-200-8879. That's 800-200-8879.
Hey guys, do you want male performance in the bedroom and do you want it now? Get it in 47 seconds or less. For the first time, you can have instant male enhancement. Introducing Nox 47, the topical male enhancement that works in 47 seconds or less. Satisfaction guaranteed. Finally, after years of scientific research, our proprietary formula will allow you to perform in the bedroom like never before. Just imagine that little blue pill on steroids. No reason to settle and wait when you can get instant performance now. Forget about pills and potions that make you wait hours or up to 30 days to work. That's yesterday's news. Nox 47 is brand new. The hottest thing for men. And you don't need a prescription. Call now and get your free supply for a limited time.
To find out how to get Nox 47 for free, call now. 800-677-1453. That's 800-677-1453. Free bottles for limited time. Call 800-677-1453. That's 800-677-1453.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me.
You are listening to and streaming Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm your guest host, Dr. Nikolai Corte, in for our friend and brother Jesse Jackson Jr. I'm not alone. I'm not alone this hour. I'm really delighted to welcome Ted Williams back to the show. He's no stranger around here, but again, for the folks who may be a little less familiar, Ted is he's quite the Renaissance man. Dr. Ted Williams III, he's an educator, an actor, an author who teaches political science at the City Colleges of Chicago. His acting credits abound, including some of my faves, NBC's Chicago PD, Showtime's The Chi, and a whole lot of films. He is the former host of WYCC's PBS Television's The Professors, and author of the book, The Way Out, Christianity, Politics, and the Future of the African-American Community, and creator of the musical theater production 1619, The Journey of a People. Welcome, Dr. Williams. How you doing?
I'm fantastic. How are you?
I'm well. Listen, this weekend is a big weekend. We know the No Kings protests are going to be taking place across the country. And there's a possibility this could be the largest protest we've ever seen, with more than 3,100 events planned nationwide to protest President Trump's actions and policies. Organizers expect the No Kings protest to draw millions of Americans into the streets on March 28th. From your vantage point, as a leader on the front lines, as an artist, as an educator, what do you hope the nation and the world gets out of this next No Kings protest?
Yeah, so thank you so much for having me. Thank you for the question. I think it's critical that in a time where we are seeing a whole assault on our freedoms, our rights, our civil rights, the progress that has been made in the civil rights movement, that we have to make sure that we are clear, that we stand up and stand against this wannabe dictator. Now, I've had people ask me the question, what does marching even do? What does protesting do? My argument is that protesting at a minimum says, as we have the right in the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution, to petition the government for a redress of grievances, that we have the right to the freedom of speech. And what protesting does is it says, hey, we will not stand by idly and watch this occur. And in that way, it is not only critical for us to exercise that right and understand the authority and the power that we have as citizens, but also to let the powers that be know that we're watching you and we're not going to allow you to continue on this course. There are people that will stand against you. They may not be in the political power seats and they may not have the numbers that are required to flip the Congress at this moment, but please trust and believe November's coming. And so this tradition of protest, this tradition of marching and standing up is so fundamental to our democracy that I don't know about you, brother, but I am excited. And I'm excited to see, I'll actually be in DC this weekend. And so I think I'm gonna catch a No Kings protest there. My daughter has an interview for a scholarship at Howard. And so we're keeping our fingers crossed and praying, but I figure part of what we'll do, what she'll do with dad while she's there and mom, is we'll get out there and we will exercise our civic right and responsibility and duty in this country. What better way to teach a young person about their rights than to exercise something like this and engage? So I'm excited, given so many people who look at the insanity happening in the White House and they say, this ain't my country. Not on our watch, not with our tax dollars. We stand against you.
Yeah, and that is really exciting. I know the ACLU estimated that the No Kings protest in June 2025, it drew about 5 million people to 1,800 events. And the October 25th demonstrations, they drew 7 million people to 2,500 events. And so the ACLU estimates that the June 2025 protest, that it matched the findings of Harvard University's crowd counting consortium. And so, you know, it is very encouraging to see that this weekend there are over 3,100 events that are planned. That is a record number. And it seems that we are moving in the right direction in terms of lifting consciousness. I know one thing that former Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, often says is, you know, public sentiment is everything. You know, talk to us about, you know, the opportunity that not just Democrats, but anybody who is opposed to the status quo in our country, the opportunity that folks have to channel that public sentiment into concrete action. Obviously, we want to keep this energy up through the November elections, but even beyond that, you know, Governor Pritzker, you know, recently raised the idea of, developing a Project 2029, right? Some sort of, vision for the future. It seems to me that people are showing up at these No Kings protests, not just in opposition to President Trump and his administration and all that they represent that's at odds with our Constitution and the values of this country, but people are showing up defending a better future. No?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it is very important that we lay out a vision and agenda for the future. I would suggest not calling it Project 2029, however, because it allows those architects of Project 2025 to have the lead in this, right? And we're just a reaction to that. But it is important because while people will criticize the opposition to Trump as just, sort of fruitless anger, the reality is that people do want a different vision. They do want different policy. They do want a different country. I spent a lot of time thinking. I've been doing a lot of speaking and writing around this 250-year anniversary of this country and what that actually means for us and what kind of country do we want to have going forward. Many of us have lived, half of our lives, if not more than that. And so we won't be here to see the next, iteration of whatever America will be. But I do think that we have the opportunity to lay a foundation for what it can be. And in our generation, as Dr. King did, and as Medgar Evers did, and as Malcolm X did, and as Reverend Jackson did, in our generation, in our time, lay a foundation for equality, justice, prosperity for all people. That is what this is all about. That's what this No Kings rally is about. And so I am heartened and encouraged to know that there are people who say, hey, we don't want to spend billions of dollars on a war that we did not have to engage in, and we can't fund schools. We don't want to be harassing people across the world and engage in regime change, which, by the way, if you think about this is antithetical to even what the founding fathers said. George Washington famously said in his farewell address that there were three things that would destroy the country. A lack of morality and religion is what he said. Political factions through political parties is what he said. And last but not least, excessive foreign entanglements. And he understood even then, and whether you fully agree with George Washington or not, I have some significant problems with George Washington and the rest of the founding fathers. But he was right on this. He understood that our interests were not best met by entangling ourselves in foreign wars. And we're spending almost $1 billion a day on this particular engagement. And so we have the opportunity to say, we want to see a country where there's a higher level of equality. We want to see a country where people can go to school and not have to mortgage their future, not have to go $100, $200, $300, $400,000 in debt for a dang on college degree. What is wrong with us saying that? We want a country where you can have equality across the board. I live in the state of Illinois, and we have a very unequal system of funding our educational institutions, our schools for young people. These are things that I'm willing to stand with you and folks like you and people across the world and say, no, we want a different future. We saw this first 250 years, and there were some good things, but we want to chart a different course. We want to unequivocally say that slavery was wrong, as our country could not figure out how to even say that with this UN vote this week, where there were three countries in the world when Ghana put forth this resolution that slavery was the most grave injustice against humanity, 12.5 million people. And this country that so many of us claim to love, this country that so many of us have invested our lives in, had the unmitigated audacity to tell its 40 million African-American citizens, we don't apologize about it.
I mean, can we just pause right there for a second and take a breath and take that in, because that's wild to me. I'm not surprised by it, but the impact of it is still wild to me. I believe the three countries that voted against this were the United States, Israel, and Argentina.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And the European Union abstained, right? So Great Britain and the EU, so they abstained because they don't want culpability. Although they've actually shown more willingness to apologize and take some responsibility for their engagement in the slave trade than we have. And I'm gonna tell you this, my brother, and I know you know this very well, and I say this in all kind of forums, whether they are forums for people that look like us, forums for people that don't look like us. America keep playing with this, and you don't take accountability for what you've done, we won't have another 250 years.
Full stop. Full stop. Full stop. You're right, because you know, this is America's original sin. And what this is really about is it's about atoning for your sins, right? And you know, and we can talk about what repair looks like, right? I think whenever we talk about reparations, the conversation gets real dicey real quick because somehow people think that we're asking for something for nothing. You know, but you know, repair runs deep. We've seen examples of this around the world. You know, whether we're talking about some of the ways in which the people of South Africa began to heal and attempted to heal following the brutal apartheid system there, in which case remnants of it still exist there today. But we've got to figure out a way to atone for this. Otherwise, I'm with you. These next 250 years, not a sure thing.
No, sir. Dr. King said very clearly, you cannot have a first-class nation with second-class citizens. America has an obligation to figure out whether they're going to include people in the American dream or try to exclude it and have the dream exist for just a small number of people. You can play that game if you want to. History has proven, French Revolution and other historic events will show you that that's not a way to build a country. It's not going to survive. And I want this country to survive and thrive. My grandparents, my great-grandparents, my children, my children's children, they'll be in this country. So I have a vested interest in making sure that this thing survives. But I tell you, if we are unwilling to take accountability for one of the gravest, if not the gravest injustice in human history, what are we doing? What are we doing?
You're absolutely right. And when we come forward, I want to dig into this a bit more for folks who are less familiar. Yesterday, history was made, and there are a lot of folks that were not sure if this day would ever come. Particularly in the international body of the United Nations, but the day did come where the UN voted to recognize the enslavement of Africans as the gravest crime against humanity. And I take personal delight in knowing this was led by Ghana, my father's homeland, that Ghana led on this resolution that was adopted by a large majority. 123 countries voted in favor. And again, only 3 against: the United States, Israel, and Argentina. There were 52 that abstained, but the decision, it marks a major step in the global recognition of these atrocities of slavery. It opens the doors to discussions around justice and apologies and potential reparations. We're going to pick up the conversation there when we come forward. You're listening to and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte in conversation with actor, teacher, preacher, scholar, Dr. Ted Williams.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Black Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson is vetoing an ordinance that would freeze tipped worker wages.
The working people in this city will always have a fighter.
The city council had voted to keep the lower wage, but under current law, it's set to rise to $16.60 by 2028. Breonna Taylor's mother is speaking out after the Justice Department asked the judge to drop charges against 2 officers tied to the warrant in her death. Tamika Palmer says Breonna, who was Black, was killed because of lies and negligence and believes someone should be held accountable, calling the DOJ's move both confusing and angering as the case continues to draw national attention. And America's first Black fighter pilots are being honored today for Tuskegee Airmen Commemoration Day. In Indiana, Governor Mike Braun recognized their legacy with a proclamation at Indianapolis International Airport. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Now is the time to save on an award-winning Nissan at the Nissan Now sales event, featuring the Rogue, Pathfinder, Frontier, and more. Don't wait. These offers are going fast. Shop your Southern California Nissan dealers and NissanUSA.com today.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers beat the Indiana Pacers Wednesday night to cap a 5-1 road trip. In the Lakers' 137-130 victory, Luka Doncic dropped 43 points. He also had 7 assists. It was the 14th time this season that Doncic has scored 40 or more. LeBron missed a triple-double by 1 assist and 1 rebound. He finished with 23 points, 9 assists, and 9 rebounds. The Lakers, 10-1 in their last 11 games, are home Friday night against Brooklyn. The Clippers beat Toronto last night, 119-94 at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood. 27 points for Kawhi Leonard. Darius Garland had his best game as a Clipper with 24 points and 6 assists. The Clippers are back over 500 at 37-36. Baseball is back. The Dodgers open the season tonight at home against Arizona. The Dodgers are trying to become the first team to win 3 straight World Series since the Yankees did it in 2000. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Created with a share of the 1984 Olympic Games surplus, LA 84 began operations in 1985 as a grant-making and educational foundation. Today, the LA 84 Foundation supports hundreds of nonprofit youth sports organizations throughout Southern California annually, trains coaches, commissions research, convenes conferences, and maintains the world's premier Olympic and sports library collection. They are transforming lives and communities through the power of youth sports. To find out about youth sports programs for yourself or your child, and to get information about the grants and support they offer to schools and nonprofits, or if you want to make a donation, please visit la84.org. That's la84.org. Or you can call them at 323-730-4600. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte. Less than 24 hours before a planned California governor's debate, USC and KABC Television Channel 7 pulled the plug after a week of growing outrage that not a single candidate of color had been invited to participate. USC says it was just math, polling numbers, fundraising totals, nothing personal. But here's the problem with that argument. Every one of the 6 candidates who made the cut was white, and every one of the candidates left out was not. At some point, the outcome is the message. regardless of the formula that produced it. The 4 excluded candidates, former U.S. Health Secretary Javier Becerra, former L.A. Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa, former State Controller Betty Yee, and State Superintendent Tony Thurmond, are not fringe figures. These are people who've won major statewide elections and served millions of Californians. Here's the deeper lesson. California is one of the most diverse states in the nation. Latino voters, Black voters, and Asian American voters don't just live here. We decide elections here. When the people organizing a debate about California's future build a stage that looks nothing like California, they're not just making a scheduling error, they're sending a signal about whose voice matters. Even some of the invited candidates called on USC to expand the field, ostensibly because they understood what was at stake. That said, it is worth noting that none of the invited candidates had the courage to stand in solidarity with people of color and bow out of participating in the debate. But we'll leave that alone for now. Canceling the debate was not a victory. It was damage control. The real lesson is that diversity cannot be an afterthought in the criteria. It has to be baked into the thinking from the very beginning. Voters of color are not a special interest. We are the electorate. With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte. As always, we welcome your feedback.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on.
You are listening to and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm your guest host, Dr. Nicordelai Corte. You can typically listen to me weekdays, Monday through Thursday in afternoon drive time right here on KBLA Talk 1580 from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific as host of A More Perfect Union and KBLA's White House correspondent. I am delighted, though, to be standing in for my friend, my colleague, my brother, Jesse Jackson Jr., who is away. He will be back on Monday. But for now, please welcome back to the show, Ted Williams. He's an actor and teacher and preacher and scholar. He's a Renaissance man, and he is here to help us sort of take a look beyond the headlines. Beyond the headlines, we've been talking about how the UN has called for reparations to remedy the historical wrongs of trafficking enslaved people. The Associated Press is reporting that the UN General Assembly just yesterday adopted a resolution declaring trafficking of enslaved Africans the gravest crime against humanity and calling for reparations as a concrete step forward remedying historical wrongs. The vote in the 193-member world body was 123-3 with 52 abstentions. Argentina, Israel, and the United States were the 3 members voting against the resolution. The United Kingdom and all 27 members of the European Union were among those that abstained. And while the U.S. opposes past wrongdoings of the transatlantic slave trade and all other forms of slavery, it, quote, does not recognize a legal right to reparations for historical wrongs that were not illegal under international law at the time that they occurred. That's what the Deputy U.S. Ambassador, Dan Negrea, said before the vote. What do you make of what that Deputy U.S. Ambassador had to say? This idea, Dr. Williams, this idea that, well, it wasn't illegal at the time, and so we don't have to recognize it. What do you make of that argument?
Well, I'm not a cursing man, but I have a few curse words that popped in my head when I read that. So I'll let you imagine what those might be.
Do they rhyme? Do they rhyme with feline? Any of them rhyme with feline?
Exactly right. So I will tell you this, man. That first of all, people they think people are stupid. Okay, I mean, I don't know how to say this in a more articulate and sophisticated way. We understand that after Europe ended their participation in the slave trade, the Americans continued. They kept on going. So there were times at which that even the international community had made it clear that this was immoral, a crime against humanity, that it was illegal, and the United States continued. The United States also has failed to live up to its own words. 1866, the Civil Rights Act. We understand that, first Civil Rights Act, we understand that the United States government went forward with this plan, General Sherman's Field Order number 15, to set aside 400,000 acres of land for the newly freed, 4 million newly freed African Americans from Florida up through South Carolina. They did not keep their own promise. That promise lasted 6 to 9 months, and the southern states essentially fought them tooth and nail. Andrew Johnson abandoned the plan. And so if you had just lived up to what you said you were going to do 100 years before, the Civil Rights Act, 64, Voting Rights Act of 65, the Housing Rights Act of 68, if you'd just done that, we'd be okay. We wouldn't have to be having these conversations. But you did not do that. Dr. King said, be true to what you said on paper. You said it, we didn't say it. Lincoln understood this, we didn't say this. You wrote the Declaration, Thomas Jefferson, and said we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and are endowed by their creator with certain inalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. You said this. And then you brought us here, denied us access to that, and then pretended for generations that you did not do this. Continued the work. And then ultimately freed, if you will, African Americans, gave us some modicum of rights. But we understand, even from the Moynihan report, white Americans said, in this report, Daniel Patrick Moynihan said, it is a miracle, essentially, that African Americans are not more disenfranchised and more angry and violent, and that they have, through all of this, become citizens that are productive members of this society. Unbelievable. And so we like to, the thing that I realized, my brother, I do a lot, as we all do. I was on a call last night with a group of people in St. Louis who are dealing with gun violence we deal with in Chicago. And we were talking about that. We're talking about some indigenous populations. And the one thing that all these populations have in common, all these cities with crime, all these people who are drugged out and who are living in sort of in the margins of society, not productive, violence, et cetera. It's not just African Americans, it's all these, they all have the same thing in common. Historically, they have been excluded from mainstream American society. Aristotle said 2,000 years ago, poverty is the parent of crime. What do you think is going to happen to communities that you leave behind? What do you think is going to happen to young people that you won't provide an education? What do you think is going to happen to generation after generation who have to grow up in these deplorable conditions in the greatest, wealthiest country on earth, supposedly? What do you think is going to happen? And so ultimately, I believe that America will have to pay for its sins one way or the other. They can do it the good way, the right way, come forward and say, hey, let us repair reparative justice. I'm on the Illinois Reparations Commission, and I've got lots of thoughts about how we do repair. They can do this the good way, the easy way, or they can do it the hard way.
When we come forward, I actually want to pick up right there in terms of where do we go from here? It's not lost on me, not lost on you, not lost on a lot of the folks that are streaming this and listening to this conversation, that this extraordinary vote in the United Nations happened at a time when, there's a raging culture war here in the United States and abroad. There's a war against all things diversity, equity, and inclusion. There's a war against reparations. And in spite of that, there's a critical mass of leaders from around the world that came together in this international body and did the thing that so many folks thought may not have been possible, at least not in this moment. And so where do we go from here? More with Ted Williams the third when we come forward. You are listening to and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Los Angeles, our homes are more than property. They're legacy. Right now, one of the largest wealth transfers in history is happening through real estate, and too many homeowners in our community are losing hard-earned equity. Donald L. Bishop Jr., associate broker with Coldwell Banker Realty, is committed to protecting families' equity through integrity and transparency. With over 20 years of real estate experience, he represents sellers, buyers, and especially seniors. Call 323-401-4126. Live well with Donald L. Bishop Jr., CalBRE number 019-77035. Texting happy birthday is lazy, and sorry for your loss deserves more than a card from aisle 7. Say it right with Nappy Expressions greeting cards filled with faith, humor, and heart. Visit nappyexpressions.com. That's NappyExpressions.com.
Nappy Expressions is proud to sponsor the Women's History Month Total Takeover, Friday, March 27th, amplifying the voices of women all day, all night, only on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is a special alert to all Americans who own a vehicle with less than 200,000 miles with an auto warranty about to expire or with no warranty coverage at all. Due to a decline in the economy, CarShield is announcing a low-cost month-to-month vehicle protection plan that is now available to the public to save any driver out-of-pocket expenses on future auto repairs. Call now to find out how you can pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. Yes, you heard that correctly. Pay almost nothing for covered auto repairs. An open phone line has been established for all drivers to call for a free quick quote. Call 800-478-6430 now. Drivers who are covered will not have to pay for covered repairs again. This protection plan is at an all-time low. Additionally, drivers who activate this vehicle protection today will also receive free roadside assistance, free towing, and car rental options at no additional cost. Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-478-6430. That's 800-478-6430. What do you have to lose? Call 800-478-6430. Again, 800-478-6430.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. Created with a share of the 1984 Olympic Games surplus, LA 84 began operations in 1985 as a grant-making and educational foundation. Today, the LA 84 Foundation supports hundreds of nonprofit youth sports organizations throughout Southern California annually, trains coaches, commissions research, convenes conferences, and maintains the world's premier Olympic and sports library collection. They are transforming lives and communities through the power of youth sports. To find out about youth sports programs for yourself or your child, and to get information about the grants and support they offer to schools and nonprofits, or if you want to make a donation, please visit la84.org. That's la84.org. Or you can call them at 323-730-4600. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Lena Bloom for the Bail Project.
Imagine you're stuck in a jail cell and you can't afford bail and someone offers you a way out. Just plead guilty and you can go home and kiss your kids goodnight. What do? What thousands have. You plead guilty whether you are or not. Cash bail makes poverty a crime. That's why the Bail Project helps those who can't afford it while fighting to end cash bail, because freedom should be free.
Brought to you by the Ad Council.
I can't believe how spotless my floors look after using the Swiffer Power Mop. No more dragging around a heavy mop and messy bucket. Now I get the same deep clean without all the work. Thanks to the powerful solution and scrubbing pad of the Swiffer Power Mop, dirt and grime don't stand a chance, and I don't break a sweat. Mic drop. Mop drop.
Swiffer Power Mop. Swiffer Power Mop.
A smarter way to mop. Try it or your money back.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. King Farley drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and
You are listening to and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show right here on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm your guest host, Dr. Nicordelai Corte, in for our friend, our brother who is away. He'll be back here in the seat on Monday. But for now, I'm really enjoying the conversation with Dr. Ted Williams III, educator, actor, author, Renaissance man. He is the author specifically of the book, The Way Out, Christianity, Politics, and the Future of the African-American Community. He's also creator of the musical theater production 1619, The Journey of a People. And he just was talking about his role as a part of the Reparations Task Force, the Reparations Commission in Illinois. Did I get that right, Dr. Ted?
Yes, the African Citizen Descendant Reparations Commission.
And so talk to us about the work that you are leading as a part of that body. And has that work changed at all, given what happened just yesterday at the United Nations?
Yeah, so we haven't been together since yesterday, but we are continuing to work. I will say very clearly, as I have to in all my media engagements, that I don't speak officially for the commission, as they have, because it's state run, they have a very tight communication ship. But I will speak about my thoughts and my participation in the commission. And what we've been doing is taking the time to do the hard work of developing a harms report that specifies and quantifies the harm that has been done, not only for what the connection was with Southern states, but slavery that occurred even in our state in the North, which there is much evidence of that as well. Also, our participation in the slave trade with our adherence to and support of and compliance with the Fugitive Slave Act, which made it so that now northern states were obligated to participate in the slave trade by returning those who had been freed. So all of this is not very well known. When I was growing up, I kind of, had this unfortunate false sense, and maybe my teachers did this to me, I'm pretty sure they did, but that, hey, number one, this was such a long time ago. And number two, hey, we live in the North. These things did not affect us in the same way. Both are very, very problematic with respect to how we look at these questions of what I like to call reparative justice. See, in politics, there are words that elicit responses, pro-life, pro-choice, Second Amendment. Those are the kinds of words that elicit responses. Reparations is a word that elicits responses from people of African descent and people of European descent. And, I am one who understands navigating political waters. I understand that there are lots of different opinions on reparations, but I cannot fathom how people cannot understand the need for reparative justice. And, I have many thoughts about what that looks like, whether it's harms-based or whether it's lineage-based, whether it is something that we're doing specifically for slavery or whether we're dealing with issues like redlining in recent history. But in all of those things, in all the conversation, it is very clear to me that we have to do something. Illinois is one of 3 states in the nation with a state-level reparations commission. California and New York are the only other 2. I'm very proud of that. But if you think about this promise from General Sherman and Abraham Lincoln over 150 years ago, this is really not something we should be doing at the state level in 2026. It should have been done 10 times over by the federal government. And if we don't do it, we continue to see, as I close here on this thought, the persistent wealth gap, the level of inequality, the instability, the cultural and social instability that is so rampant in this country. If we do nothing, as Einstein said, the definition of insanity is do the same thing over and over again, expect different results. We've tried not doing this. We should try and see what happens if we do.
And folks are indeed trying. You mentioned California, where I'm beaming in at the moment, the first in the nation state-backed task force right here in California, one of several efforts. And, we know that it's been a bumpy ride. I mean, California has, like Illinois, a progressive governor. And even when it came to reparations, Governor Newsom, did not sign off on the majority of what was proposed. He was, interested in maybe nibbling around the edges. And he is one of the more progressive governors in the country. And so do you think this UN vote, do you think that it's given the movement a shot in the arm as we move forward?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, here's the reality. You and I both know, brother, that if America was interested in reparations, America would have done reparations. And even today in 2026, the mainstream of the political, the electorate is not interested in repairing what has happened to the people of African descent in this country. They're not interested in it. It's not winning a lot of votes. I think that what folks like Newsom and Holcomb in New York and Pritzker in Illinois have done, what they've done is open the door. I'm grateful for what they've done. Do I believe that they're willing to die on the hill of reparations? No. I understand how politics works. But I am excited that we're making a case. And you make that case in multiple ways. You make it at the state level, you make it at the national level, and thank you to Ghana for this week making it at the international level. And saying, which is why, by the way, it wasn't that America could not have just said, hey, yeah, we did this, and it was a grave injustice against humanity. They understand that with acknowledgement comes responsibility. With acknowledgement comes culpability. With acknowledgement comes the issue now of reparative justice. And so that's what they're really worried about, this idea they're going to have to spend money. But once again, in a country that's finding, close to $1 billion a day to fund a war overseas, I think,
and an administration that has fixed its mouth to ask Congress for another check for $200 billion.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
And for, an administration that said, hey, let's give the richest Americans a tax break. Right. And by the way, let's take away money from Americans that rely on programs like Medicaid in order to finance those tax breaks.
Yeah.
Right. And so to your point, at some point, this is about priorities. It's about priorities. It's not just about righting wrongs. It's about priorities, and, we have no problem spending billions of dollars to purchase more missiles and to get more foreign entanglements, but when it comes to really righting wrongs and righting them in a way that actually help the economy, you put more money in the pockets, of people who've experienced harm. Right. There are a lot of ways in which ways people want to invest that, in terms of, purchasing homes and purchasing businesses and getting the capital that they need to scale their businesses. We know that Black folks over-index as solopreneurs. Right. Imagine, how many more jobs Black small businesses will be able to create with access to that kind of capital. And so our remaining 30 seconds, I want to give you the last word, Dr. Williams.
I just thank you. As you talked about, fix your mouth. You sound like my mother used to tell me, how could you fix your mouth? Do that. How could Pete Hegseth fix his mouth to say that the Iranians ought to spend less time investing in weaponry and more time investing in their people? The hypocrisy is it's disturbing. And we got to keep fighting, my brother. Sometimes it feels like this work is in vain, but I am a firm believer that when we work towards right and justice, it never is in vain. That's where my spiritual, moral side comes in. And this fight is a good fight, and we will win.
Thank you, Dr. Ted Williams III, for joining us here on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Please come back again soon. You are listening to KBLA Talk 1580. More in our next hour right here on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Black Chicago Mayor Brandon Johnson is vetoing an ordinance that would freeze tipped worker wages.
The working people in this city will always have a fighter.
The city council had voted to keep the lower wage, but under current law, it's set to rise to $16.60 by 2028. Breonna Taylor's mother is speaking out after the Justice Department asked a judge to drop charges against 2 officers tied to the warrant in her death. Tamika Palmer says Breonna, who was Black, was killed because of lies and negligence and believes someone should be held accountable, calling the DOJ's move both confusing and angering as the case continues to draw national attention. And America's first Black fighter pilots are being honored today for Tuskegee Airmen Commemoration Day. In Indiana, Governor Mike Braun recognized their legacy with a proclamation at Indianapolis International Airport. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Now is the time to save on an award-winning Nissan at the Nissan Now sales event, featuring the Rogue, Pathfinder, Frontier, and more. Don't wait. These offers are going fast. Shop your Southern California Nissan dealers and NissanUSA.com today.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers beat the Indiana Pacers Wednesday night to cap a 5-1 road trip. In the Lakers' 137-130 victory, Luka Doncic dropped 43 points. He also had 7 assists. It was the 14th time this season that Doncic has scored 40 or more. LeBron missed a triple-double by 1 assist and 1 rebound. He finished with 23 points, 9 assists, and 9 rebounds. The Lakers, 10-1 in their last 11 games, are home Friday night against Brooklyn. The Clippers beat Toronto last night, 119-94 at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood. 27 points for Kawhi Leonard. Darius Garland had his best game as a Clipper with 24 points and 6 assists. The Clippers are back over 500 at 37-36. Baseball is back. The Dodgers open the season tonight at home against Arizona. The Dodgers are trying to become the first team to win 3 straight World Series since the Yankees did it in 2000. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Old-fashioned soul.
Where you eating at? Hi, I'm Greg Doolin, inviting you to a special celebration of Women's History Month. Join KBLA Talk 1580 for its annual symposium, The State of Black Women in LA. Broadcast live from Doolin's Soul Food on Crenshaw, Friday, March 27th, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., moderated by Dominique DePrima. And yes, breakfast is just $15.80. Come get fed twice. Your stomach and your mind will thank you. We'll see you Friday morning, March 27th, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. at Doolin's Soul Food on Crenshaw for the State of Black Women in LA. Broadcast live only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA.
You are listening to and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm your host, your guest host, Dr. Nicordelai Corte. And for the great Jesse Jackson Jr., it has been an honor and a privilege to sit in for our friend and brother who will be back in the chair on Monday in short order. In the meantime, I'm in touch, and so you be in touch. Be sure to follow me on all the social media platforms at Dr. Nicordelai. Just type in Dr. Niq, DRNIIQ. And there I am, fresh for you to follow. Also, be sure to subscribe to the KBLA YouTube channel, because that way you get to not just hear the conversations, but you get to see us in conversations, and you get to even jump in the comments if you are so inclined. We also want you to download the KBLA app if you haven't already. That way you can take us with you in the palm of your hand everywhere you go. And yeah, that's the way we like it. Carry us with you everywhere you go, because This is a station that prides itself in curating conversations that are hard to find elsewhere. And so we take that responsibility seriously, and I'm sure you can hear the difference. In this hour, I'm looking forward to being in conversation with Johnny J. Mack. He is a social entrepreneur, a scholar practitioner. He has expertise in the subject areas of peace, conflict, social change, and movements, and has traveled pretty extensively around the world, the Americas, Africa, Asia, Europe, the Middle East, working in the fields of peace and development and conflict and nonviolent social change. Some of you may be familiar with Dr. Mack's seminal work, After Confrontation, Then What? Challenges the punitive logic of nonviolent social change theory and practice. And with all that is happening around the world, particularly in Iran, want to welcome Dr. Mack to the show to help us begin to not just separate the fact from the fiction, but to understand the historical context of what is afoot. Dr. Mack, welcome to the show.
Well, Dr. Niku, it's good to be here.
Well, it's great to have you. And so one of the questions I like to ask our guests at the top of any conversation is, what's keeping you up late at night these days?
I think it's a good question, because I am up late at night. But in part because I go to bed early. Now, I'm headed somewhere with this answer. So I go to bed early, get a few hours of sleep, because most of the rest of the world is already up by the time we in the West, particularly in the United States, wake up, right? Much of Africa is 4, 5, 6, 7 hours ahead of us. And then you get over into, Asia, South Asia, Far East. So what gets me up is I want to be engaged with the rest of the world in my work. And that raises the question, what is the rest of the world engaged in? And much of it is engaged in violent conflict. And that keeps me up. That gets me up. Violent conflict in ways that we often don't think about. In fact, your conversation with Dr. Ted is part of that, because, we're looking at the wars in the Middle East, the war between Russia and Ukraine, the war with Iran, or on Iran, I like to say, involving the U.S. and Israel. These are all physical forms of violence. But there's another form of violence, or there are other forms of violence that are structural and cultural that I'm sure you would identify with. And they are, in my view, even more pernicious than the physical forms. They do far greater damage than those forms that are so obvious to us. And so what happened with the passage of the UN on this reparations idea brings to the fore, in my view, what that violence has done for hundreds of years to our people and others.
When we come forward, I want to pick up on that point. We know that Ghana was a leader in helping to get that resolution introduced in the United Nations and to drum up support among leaders of conscience around the world. On one hand, lead Ghana, lead. But on the other hand, we know that there are some human rights abuses in Ghana's backyard. And so I want to give you an opportunity to offer a fair critique that can help us to be clear-eyed as we move forward, really atoning for crimes of humanity of the past, and doing everything we can to not allow for future crimes of humanity to take place. You are listening to and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte. More with Dr. Johnny Mack when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
This March, we're turning up the volume on the women who changed everything. KBLA Talk 1580 is proud to celebrate Women's History Month, honoring the trailblazers, truth tellers, and game changers who shaped our world, our culture, and our community. From the freedom fighters to the firsts, from the boardroom to the front lines, from the unsung to the unforgettable, all month long, we're celebrating the stories, the voices, and the conversations that remind us that women, Black women, have always led the way. Don't miss a moment. This is our moment. This is our story. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580, Los Angeles' home for the conversations that matter.
I'm your girl, you're my girl, we're your girls. Won't you know that we love you?
Roger and Tracy saved over $18,400. Cynthia was recovering from a family tragedy and saved over $10,300. If you are drowning in debt, then call Debt Blue. Debt Blue is a professional debt negotiation firm with over 20 years of experience helping people pay back a fraction of what they owe. Learn how to cut your debt up to half or maybe more. Be debt-free in 24 to 48 months, even with bad credit. With an A+ rating from the BBB, you can rest easy knowing Debt Blue is going to deliver guaranteed debt reduction. Debt Blue offers a success guarantee. You pay nothing unless your debt is reduced or completely resolved. That's right. You save money or it's free. Call now for significant debt relief and a free consultation. 800-200-8879. That's 800-200-8879. You don't have to declare bankruptcy. This program works if you owe $10,000, $20,000, or even $100,000 in debt. Call for your free consultation today. 800-200-8879. That's 800-200-8879.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to the beat. Come on and talk with me.
You are listening to and streaming
KBLA
Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte and really delighted to be in conversation with Dr. Johnny J. Mack, who is a social entrepreneur, a scholar, and an expert in the areas of peace, conflict, and social change movements. His research includes an extensive study of Martin Luther King Jr.'s logic around nonviolence and U.S. civil rights. Welcome back to the show, Dr. Mack.
Thank you, sir. Good to be here.
So it's great to have you, and you are the right person to have this conversation with. And let me just, in full disclosure, let me just sort of lay this out so that we're all sort of clear in terms of how I'm attempting to frame this. My name is Dr. Nicordelai Corte. For all the Ghanaian listeners out there, they might recognize it more as Nikwatelai Corte, right? Which is how folks would say it in Ghana. I have a father that was born and raised in Accra. I have visited Africa a number of times, including Ghana a number of times. As somebody who is Ghanaian American and openly gay, it is not lost on me that there are some people that find the irony in the fact that Ghana demonstrated extraordinary leadership in the United Nations just yesterday with not just introducing this resolution, but drumming up support among over 120 nations around the world, declaring slavery as a crime against humanity. This is something that has been a long time coming. It's also not lost on me that, as reported by folks over at Human Rights Watch, Ghana's parliament has revived a very dangerous anti-LGBT bill. Lawmakers in Ghana have reintroduced a draconian bill that jeopardizes the rights of lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people. And on February 17th, the Ghanaian parliament formally received the Human Sexual Rights and Family Values Bill, also known as the Anti-LGBT Bill, marking the latest chapter in a prolonged legal and legislative process that started in 2021. I write about this in my book, Kamala, the Motherland and Me. This came up when I was traveling with then Vice President Kamala Harris, and she did a joint press conference with the then president of Ghana. This came up then. It is still an issue now. Dr. Mack, help us reconcile this part of the story, especially for those of us who sit at the intersection of these communities.
Well, I'm going to begin, if I can, Dr. Cordelay, with the word complexity. It's a very complex issue. And by the way, I didn't pronounce your name correctly, so forgive me. We'll work on that. But this complexity is one that we must understand, because we can't solve a problem if we don't fully understand the problem. We can't cure a disease if we don't know its cause and fully understands its consequences. And more than of the 54 countries in Africa, almost 2/3 of those countries have some form of discrimination against the LGBTQ community. More than 2/3, or certainly, I think it's right at 2/3. I think of the 54, 32 or 34 countries. Only one country, South Africa, has the rights of the LGBTQ community embedded in its constitution. Only one of the 54. So what's the source of this? Why is this? Why in the 21st century are we yet struggling with this issue? We, all of us, we global citizens of the world. This is not an American issue. It's not a Ghana issue. It's not an African issue. It's a global issue that we must take on globally, as we've taken on other issues of apartheid, for example. And so I think that until and unless we fully understand, what the problem is, we can't address it. In the case of Africa, I think there are a couple of issues that we must confront, and they include colonialism itself. And what colonialism did to African communities. As you know, there's no monolithic African community. There's no monolithic African culture. What was monolithic was the spread of a certain global ideology rooted in a certain religious orientation. And that orientation remains with us today and is in many cases deeply embedded in the culture of many African minds, many African communities. And so that's the historical context where today there's a contemporary context. In the current administration, for example, of the United States is largely driven by an orientation that views the world in a particular way that discriminates against not only people of color, but sexual orientations and otherwise. And I think that both of those issues are really what we're grappling with today. And we have to understand that it is both the vestiges of colonialism as well as this current religious fervor toward a certain form of sexual orientation. And we have to address both. So that, I think, begins understanding what we're dealing with. I can give more, but I'll take a breath, and maybe you want to expand on it, and I can come back to it.
Of course. You know, and I appreciate you sort of laying the groundwork and helping folks to understand the complexities of it, right? Because there are multiple possibilities that can be true at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's also worth noting that and worth connecting the dots between the vestiges of colonialism, as you've mentioned, and the rise of Christian nationalism around the world, and particularly on the continent of Africa, and how Christian nationalism is shaping Trump's foreign policy towards Africa, how it is animating leaders across the continent of Africa that may have authoritarian tendencies, and that's putting it nicely, right? And so all of these things represent variables that are a part of this equation. And so I think we may, oversimplify the issue at hand by just, dismissing it as hypocrisy.
Mm-hmm.
House of the Ghana is, out front and clear-eyed about, enslavement being a crime against humanity, but demonstrating an unwillingness to see the humanity in its own LGBTQ people, right?
Yeah.
And part of what creates an environment that allows for that cognitive dissonance, if there's any cognition at play at all, is the ideologies that folks are exposed to, the ideologies that folks believe offer them some political currency, some economic currency. And so, I know you just talked about complexity, and what I'm injecting probably adds another few layers of complexity, but I want to give you an opportunity to speak to how the rise in white Christian nationalism, how that factors into what we're witnessing, and more importantly, how it factors into how we fight the good fight in the days ahead.
Yeah. Well framed. I would argue beginning an answer, again, because it is complex, but beginning an answer. I would frame this as largely, and many may disagree with me on this, but largely this is an underlying value framework that is supported by a political opportunism, right? The ideological or value framework is one where human action and social order, that is, how we interact with each other and the social structures around us, are driven by fundamental values. And whose values are they? And how do they drive our interaction with each other and with the social edifice? By the way, this is Martin Luther King Jr. Remember, he calls for a revolution of values, right? Because he understands that we've structured a social order with values that are violent. And he calls those values poverty, racism, and militarism. We can re-articulate those as a bigotry, cupidity, or greed, and rivalry. So what am I getting at here? These are all about power, right? So even LGBTQ issues, I would argue, it's not so much about the orientation of a particular individual or groups. It's more about power. Who controls that power? Now let me pull in the political side of what I'm arguing. It's not so much that even a head of state is for or against any particular person because of their sexual orientation. I would argue, if I can be so bold, that President Mahama is not for or against sexual orientation of anybody. What he's for is being elected. What he's against is someone else being elected. And if the preponderance of the population, stay with me now, if the preponderance of the population has an orientation that suggests that if a president, let's move away from Mahama and Ghana to generalizing it, if that orientation threatens the power of the electoral or person in the electoral office, then they will bend toward or lean toward placating to that orientation. Are you following me? Am I making this too academic, Doc?
No, keep going.
And my work, my study, suggests that's really what we're dealing with. And remember I said, if we don't fully understand the complexities here, we can argue all day about ideologies. Doc, we can't impose our ideologies on someone else. What we can do, as King said, and as many in the mid-20th century civil rights movement said, I may not be able to convince you to love me, I'm paraphrasing now, but I can determine how you treat me through the laws and the constitutions of our land. And that's what we're dealing with here. If we're going to solve this problem, I may not be able to change your heart, but I'm sure well going to work to change your behavior. And that's, in my judgment, getting finally to your question about how we understand this problem and solve it. We have to change the behavior of those who would discriminate against any human characteristic, whatever it may be, whether it's against the LGBT community, against a particular religious group, against a particular race, etc. That's the challenge for us.
That is the challenge indeed. When we come forward, another challenge for us is how to get disentangled with the war in Iran. While we've been on air, some breaking news as reported by the Associated Press, President Trump extends the deadline for Iran to open the Strait of Hormuz to April 6th. April 6th. He says he'll hold off on bombing Iran's energy plants, but has extended the deadline for Iran to open the Strait of Hormuz to April 6th. This breaking news may have something to do with the fact that U.S. stocks have had their biggest loss since the war with Iran started, as the S&P 500 drops 1.7%. We know this president pays extra close attention to what's happening on Wall Street. Some might say to the detriment of folks on Main Street. When we come forward, we're going to get Dr. Mack's take on this breaking news and more. You are listening to and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. I'm your guest host, Dr. Nicordelai Corte.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. President Trump says Americans are frustrated with Democrats as the government shutdown continues.
They love sanctuary cities, which is a sanctuary for criminals.
Speaking at a cabinet meeting, he warned the standoff must end soon or drastic measures could be taken after Democrats rejected a GOP plan to partially fund ICE. A Black Florida congresswoman is under scrutiny as the House Ethics Committee holds a rare public hearing on multiple charges. Two-term Democrat Sheila Sherfilis McCormick is accused of violating campaign finance laws and misusing millions in COVID-19 relief funds, allegations she denies, as investigators say they found substantial evidence to support the claims. And actor Coleman Domingo is set to make his hosting debut on Saturday Night Live on April 11th. The episode comes just ahead of the season 3 premiere of Euphoria, where he returns as Ali in his role as Joe Jackson in the upcoming film Michael. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Now is the time to save on an award-winning Nissan at the Nissan Now sales event, featuring the Rogue, Pathfinder, Frontier, and more. Don't wait. These offers are going fast. Shop your Southern California Nissan dealers and NissanUSA.com today.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Lakers beat the Indiana Pacers Wednesday night to cap a 5-1 road trip. In the Lakers' 137-130 victory, Luka Doncic dropped 43 points. He also had 7 assists. It was the 14th time this season that Doncic has scored 40 or more. LeBron missed a triple-double by 1 assist and 1 rebound. He finished with 23 points, 9 assists, and 9 rebounds. The Lakers, 10-1 in their last 11 games, are home Friday night against Brooklyn. The Clippers beat Toronto last night, 119-94 at the Intuit Dome in Inglewood. 27 points for Kawhi Leonard. Darius Garland had his best game as a Clipper with 24 points and 6 assists. The Clippers are back over 500 at 37-36. Baseball is back. The Dodgers open the season tonight at home against Arizona. The Dodgers are trying to become the first team to win 3 straight World Series since the Yankees did it in 2000. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte. Less than 24 hours before a planned California governor's debate, USC and KABC Television Channel 7 pulled the plug after a week of growing outrage that not a single candidate of color had been invited to participate. USC says it was just math, polling numbers, fundraising totals, nothing personal. But here's the problem with that argument. Every one of the 6 candidates who made the cut was white, and every one of the candidates left out was not. At some point, the outcome is the message, regardless of the formula that produced it. The 4 excluded candidates, former U.S. Health Secretary Javier Becerra, former L.A. Mayor Antonio Villaraigosa, former State Controller Betty Yee, and State Superintendent Tony Thurmond, are not fringe figures. These are people who've won major statewide elections and served millions of Californians. Here's the deeper lesson. California is one of the most diverse states in the nation. Latino voters, Black voters, and Asian American voters don't just live here. We decide elections here. When the people organizing a debate about California's future build a stage that looks nothing like California, they're not just making a scheduling error, they're sending a signal about whose voice matters. Even some of the invited candidates called on USC to expand the field, ostensibly because they understood what was at stake. That said, it is worth noting that none of the invited candidates had the courage to stand in solidarity with people of color and bow out of participating in the debate. But we'll leave that alone for now. Canceling the debate was not a victory. It was damage control. The real lesson is that diversity cannot be an afterthought in the criteria. It has to be baked into the thinking from the very beginning. Voters of color are not a special interest. We are the electorate. With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte. As always, we welcome your feedback.
We're at Doolin's on Crenshaw. It's a special place where the neighborhood comes together. Got the fried chicken, the catfish, the candied yams, the mac and cheese. It's all delicious. I'm Isaac Bryan. I represent the Crenshaw District in the California State Legislature, and I'm supporting Tom Steyer for governor of California. California is under attack, and we need a fighter who's going to come in on day one and stand up for California values and push back. That person is Tom Steyer. Tom and I have been fighting together for the better part of a decade. Tom is the only candidate supported by Smart Justice because Tom has stood on the front lines of racial justice, economic justice, and true solidarity. Tom is the real deal. He's the only candidate in the race with a comprehensive plan to make the billionaires and the corporations pay their fair share so we can fund things like universal health care and education. He means what he says, and he does what we need. This is a moment when we've got to fight fire with fire, and I believe that fire is Tom Steyer.
Ad paid for by Steyer for Governor 2026.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580.
You are listening to and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm your guest host, Dr. Nicordelai Corte. Thoroughly enjoying this conversation with Dr. Johnny J. Mack. He is a social entrepreneur, a scholar, and practitioner with expertise in the areas of peace, conflict, and social change. Also in movement building. He is a very celebrated researcher. His research includes extensive study of Martin Luther King Jr.'s logic of nonviolence and the U.S. Civil Rights Movement. Dr. Mack, welcome back.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome back, Dr. Mack.
Good to be here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can. And so before the break, I mean, we've been having quite a conversation I've thoroughly enjoyed. Now I want to ask your take on the news that is afoot related to the war in Iran. I'd mentioned before the break that President Trump says that Iran is, they have until April 6th. He's extended the deadline for Iran to open the Strait of Hormuz to April 6th, saying that he'll hold off on bombing Iran's energy plants. That's happening while we're also learning that U.S. stocks have experienced their biggest loss since the war with Iran started, as the S&P has dropped 1.7%. These actions are not mutually exclusive, are they?
They are not exclusive at all. It's very interesting, if I may, Dr. Corte. It's interesting how this war has unfolded, obviously. That's an understatement. And we've heard in the media, of course, quite a bit, depending upon who you're listening to in media, the lack of preparation for this war and not fully understanding the consequences. We do know intuitively, all of us, that all of our choices have consequences, and we must live with the consequences of those choices. And so, the United States and Israel and Iran are suffering the consequences of their choices. When it comes to the Strait of Hormuz and this extension, this is not my academic field. I can give some thoughts on it only, but it doesn't take rocket science to understand that in today's technological world, the deck is often quite different that one is dealt than it was before or in earlier times of military conflict. And what I mean by that is the way technology has accelerated. I'm thinking about Mustafa Suleiman's book, The Coming Wave. If you've read that, Dr. Corte, you know what I'm referencing here. The way technology accelerates and then diffuses provides opportunities for those who would not otherwise have the resources and access new avenues. And so the hegemon, the great powers with the huge military budgets and large machines of war can be totally disrupted when you think about 9/11 by a handful of individuals who literally changed the world order on that infamous day. And so that's what we have in the case of Iran and the Strait of Hormuz and blocking that waterway. It doesn't take a whole lot of technology to do what they're doing. And the greatest military powers, the two greatest, by their own admission, military powers on the globe are at their wits' end to understand how to prevent Iran from doing what it's doing with respect to that waterway and disrupting the global economy. So that's how I understand what we're dealing with today. And there's a way to apply that to our previous conversation about violence and what it is and nonviolence and social order, how we interact with each other and with the social edifice that we've created. And so here we are today, where just a handful of individuals, even after decapitating, as they say, this military in Iran, a handful of people in speedboats can plant mines in the waters of that strait and disrupt the global economy. Mm-hmm. And it's very difficult for the great powers of the world to stop them.
That's right. And we're feeling it in our stock market today. We're feeling it at the pump. I mentioned the last time I filled up my tank, my 20-gallon tank, cost me $154, right? So imagine for families out there that are struggling to make ends meet, imagine how much more difficult their lives have become just within the past couple weeks. I also want to remind folks that might have been motivated to go to the polls in November 2024 because of any economic anxiety they were experiencing. Remember that? We kept hearing that, people were experiencing economic anxiety, and somehow, some way, that math equation led them to align themselves with President Trump and the MAGA movement. I asked these folks with the utmost curiosity, how's your economic anxiety now?
Yeah.
How's it? How is it now? And it can't be too good. It can't be too good, especially considering that a day after Tehran dismissed President Trump's 15-point ceasefire plan.
Yes.
The president claimed that Iran was, quotes, begging to make a deal, and that he wasn't the one pushing for negotiations. What do you make of that as somebody that is very well steeped in the art and science and sheer politics of peace and conflict resolution? What do you make of what appears to be an imbalance from the beginning in terms of we're asking for, 15 things. From what I read, Iran's asking for, it's not 15 things. It's more like a handful of things. But how do you read the president's framing of this?
Yeah, this is going to be longer than the minute or so that we have before our next break.
I'm actually going to give you a chance to let that marinate for a minute, and then when we come forward, we'll get your reaction to that and more. You are listening to and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte. He's Dr. Johnny Mack, and I have a feeling he's got something really important to say when we come forward.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hey LA, spring into savings with a special offer from LADWP. Now through March 31st, get a Flume device for free. What's a Flume? It's an easy-to-install home water monitor and leak detector that helps you catch leaks early and track water use. Don't wait. Order your free Flume before March 31st at ladwp.com/FLUME. That's ladwp.com/FLUME. Heading out of town this spring? Metro makes getting to LAX easier than ever. Just take the C or K train lines to the new LAX Metro Transit Center. Then catch a free shuttle straight to your terminal. Easy, affordable, stress-free. Travel smart. Go Metro.
Did you know about 1 in 3 people with plaque psoriasis may also develop psoriatic arthritis, which causes joint pain, stiffness, and swelling? Does this sound like you? Listen to what it sounds like to be a million miles away. Tremfya guselkumab, taken by injection, is a prescription medicine for adults with moderate to severe plaque psoriasis who may benefit from taking injections or pills or phototherapy, and for adults with active psoriatic arthritis. Serious allergic reactions and increased risk of infections and liver problems may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check you for infections and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection, flu-like symptoms, or if you need a vaccine. Imagine being a million miles away. Explore what's possible. Ask your doctor about Tremfya. Visit Tremfya.com or call 1-800-526-7736.
Good old-fashioned soul.
Where you eating at? Hi, I'm Greg Dulin, inviting you to a special celebration of Women's History Month. Join KBLA Talk 1580 for its annual symposium, The State of Black Women in LA. Broadcast live from Dulan's Soul Food on Crenshaw, Friday, March 27th, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., moderated by Dominique DePrima. And yes, breakfast is just $15.80. Come get fed twice. Your stomach and your mind will thank you. We'll see you Friday morning, March 27th, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. at Dulan's Soul Food on Crenshaw for the State of Black Women in LA. Broadcast live only on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. 10 Toes In serves as a mentorship and domestic violence prevention program. They support, educate, and empower couples during and after incarceration. They assist male returning citizens to re-enter society successfully and to help them maintain a healthy relationship with their romantic partner. They offer a mentorship support group for formerly incarcerated men. 10 Toes In teaches its Intimate Relationships 101 curriculum at male prisons throughout the state of California. They host sister support group meetings for women who are intimately involved with incarcerated and formerly incarcerated men. 10 Toes In is a 501c3 nonprofit organization. To access their services or make a donation, please visit them online at 10toesin.org or find them on Facebook or Instagram. They are healing lives through relationships. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Small businesses are the heart of America. But you don't have to go it alone. As the nation's largest nonprofit resource of expert business mentoring, SCORE has helped millions of entrepreneurs build their businesses for free. Get the connections, education, and guidance you need with SCORE. We're ready to help. Find a mentor today at score.org.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me.
You are listening to and streaming a more perfect. You're listening to and streaming the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte, host of A More Perfect Union, which can also be heard here on KBLA Talk 1580. We're on from 4 to 6 p.m. in afternoon drive time. Today, I am sitting in for our friend and brother, Jesse Jackson Jr., and have been thoroughly enjoying the conversation this hour with Dr. Mack, Dr. Johnny J. Mack, that is. Dr. Mack, before the break, I'd made the point that President Trump had introduced this 15-point ceasefire plan, and he's claiming that Iran, as reported by the Associated Press, was, quotes, begging to make a deal, and that he wasn't the one pushing for negotiations. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that, this is the kind of talk that can very easily derail very fragile conflict resolution conversations between heads of state, between countries. As somebody who knows a lot about what it takes in order to resolve conflicts and create a pathway to peace, what do you make of this?
Well, obviously dialogue is key to any conflict. And the question is, who's in the dialogue? And it, of course, must be a dialogue, not a monologue. And I'm reminded of what we often think about in issues like this, Dr. Corte. We think about the strong and the weak in a conflict. I think it was the historian Thucydides who said that the strong do what they can and the weak do what they must. And I think that, when the strong believe that they are all powerful, they say what they will and they do what they will or can. And, part of this is all about narrative. War is as much about narrative as it is about the physical fighting, convincing not only your opponent, but those who are looking on. That is the greater population, particularly in a global war, or a war that affects the global order. Narrative is important. And so bluffing and talking loud and saying nothing, as one brother put it many years ago, is all part of that process. But unless opponents can sit down, put their issues on the table, speak openly and frankly, educate each other on each other's points of view, not so much interested in getting my point across, but understanding the point of view of my opponent. These are basic things we learn in kindergarten, actually, certainly in our elementary school days, that we tend to forget in war. And so the chest beating and bluffing and loud talking doesn't accomplish much in a war like this. It's being willing to sit down and seek win-win solutions to challenges that it seems to be missing, even in this critical time between the U.S. and Iran.
Dr. Mack, in our remaining minutes, I want to ask you, is it your sense that things will get a whole lot worse before they get better? Do you see any light at the end of the tunnel here? Or, do you see this as being sort of Iraq 2.0? Do you see this as, certainly if ground troops are unleashed on the ground in Iran, does this even give you Vietnam vibes?
Yeah. So I'm a student of conflict, not of war. And, will this get worse? That question is for whom? It certainly can get a lot worse if you are an ordinary citizen in Iran or any of the other theaters of war in Gaza or in Ukraine. It gets worse and worse by the day for those persons. For us who suffer the consequences of war, where prices increase, as you mentioned before, yeah, I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. The real question is, what will those who are the perpetrators or the lead protagonists, is what I should say here, in the war, what will they do? This war could end this afternoon, this evening, our time. If one, it is argued, says, I've had enough, I've accomplished my goal, I'm done. The war could end almost instantly, assuming the other party agrees. But who knows what will happen in that regard?
Yeah. Well, whether the war ends sooner or later, we know that the work continues, the work endures. In our remaining minutes, talk to us about how we can support your work, how we can support it, where we can go to tap in to the work that you're a part of.
Well, thank you for asking, Dr. Corte. My work is the World House Project, and that's our website name, The World House Project. So our listeners can go to theworldhouseproject.org, and there they will find information about our work, our global work, as well as the opportunity to make a contribution to that work, a tax deductible. We are a 501c3 tax exempt organization, and one can go there and learn about our work, our website, learn about our work, and make a contribution to that work.
That's great. That's great. That's great. And Dr. Mack, while I have you, we know that the No Kings protest is taking place this weekend. Over 3,000 organized events are planned across the country. What is your hope? What is your prayer heading into this mass protest that many people say could be the biggest protest in American history?
Well, Dr. Corte, this is where the abstract rubber meets the concrete road, right, of social change and social movement. It's where the people get involved. As John Lewis would say, it's where the people get into good trouble. And so I fully support the idea of No King movement, educating ourselves, organizing ourselves, and mobilizing ourselves. And that has to be a sustained effort. Unfortunately, from my point of view, No King movement activities are not often enough. Social movements must be sustained. They must prove their relevance and their longevity. And my hope is that's what will happen with this movement.
Thank you, Dr. Johnny J. Mack of the World House Project. That's all the time we have for today. My thanks to the entire village that helps us produce the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show, including our executive producer, Gina A. Towns, to Taz, our technical director, and to Miles Lowe, our sound engineer, and all of our listeners and streamers out there. We appreciate you. And remember, do what you can from where you are with what you have, but by all means, do something. I'm Dr. Nicordelai Corte. It's been an honor to stand in for our friend and brother, Jesse Jackson Jr. He'll be back on Monday. Have a great weekend, everyone.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with